Hey guys, welcome back to another Twisted Tale review, recap, word vomit situation. I'm so excited to talk about this book because I inhaled it. And I've been on a not quite reading slump, but an unfortunate series of books has become priority in my day-to-day reading, and I haven't been fully enjoying them, but this book, so worth having it shipped from overseas because this just might be a dark horse in the ranking. So obviously from the thumbnail, you guys know we're going to talk about Suddenly Super by Jen Calonita. So I tried to channel what superhero-ness I could. I only have X-Men shirts, so I got my X-Men, please be patient, X-Men trainee shirt. And then I don't have Pixar stuff, so I borrowed my husband's hoodie, which has Pixar balls and the that guy. And then because Violet wears a headband, eventually, I also, this is the bunny ear headband I have, so if it keeps sticking out in the back, that's why. And Willa says hi. She brought the ball. It's really weird because it keeps hitting the back of my neck. It's like, yeah. But aesthetics, we're trying a little bit. And when I tell you guys that I inhaled this book, in my calendar, I planned it to take about a week with like averaging 60 pages a night, just in case, you know, just pace it, but also get through it. I read like 120 pages at a time. I could have read more if I didn't start so late at night and was trying to keep my eyes open. It took me 3 days. I just finished it last night and it did not disappoint. So Willow is being very needy, so I have to pet her with one hand, but let's get the synopsis over with so we can get into the goodies. What if Violet became an agent of syndrome? After attending a party without her mother's permission and almost revealing she's a super, Violet is grounded indefinitely. But when her parents need to go to a conference, Violet is left in charge. This turns out to be a lot more difficult than she thought, after a woman named Mirage shows up at the door claiming that Violet's parents are in danger, and that she and her employer Syndrome want to help protect the Parr children. With no one else to turn to, Violet does what she can to protect her brothers. So when Violet is given a chance to return the favor, she agrees to help Syndrome on a mission. But as it unfolds, Violet feels that something is amiss. Are Mirage and Syndrome really who they say they are? I knew my camera moved. My dog moved my camera. Ugh. Hopefully you guys have seen The Incredibles movie, which is fantastic. Pixar does pretty good with their movies. This was definitely a strong hitter, but Pixar has been hitting it. Inside Out 2 was Inside Out was a bit stronger than Inside Out 2, but still really enjoyed it. Incredibles, fantastic movie. Watch it if you can. And I think one of the most exciting bits of this story is that Violet's the main character and she's the main POV. We do get a little bit of Mirage POV, and then we get 1 or 2 syndromes just to fill in the blanks here and there. But Violet is the one that I relate to as a person, even though when I watched this, I was probably getting out of high school or so. I don't remember the exact year. I wanted to see more of Violet's story and her potential. I love the movie as a whole, but I still would have liked more, at least of Violet, maybe of just the kids in general. So maybe we'll get an Incredibles 3 and it'll be about the kids instead of the parents. Just saying, maybe Disney, maybe do that. Please, please, please. So when this story is starting out, we're way back in the beginning of early time in the movie when they've just moved to this new area. Supers are still illegal, so they're trying to keep things secret. But Violet has made a friend with Carrie, who is the infamous babysitter. If that's the best way to remember who she is. So she's the one who's been babysitting and babysits Jack at the end of the movie. But she and Violet are very, very close friends. They are supposed to go to a movie, but they're not actually going to a movie. They're actually going to a house party, which is a few blocks away from the movie. And Violet's cousin of sorts, not necessarily blood related, Lucy, is the niece of Lucius, who is Frozone. I'm probably going to have to just set the book down so I can throw in some images. So Lucy is going to the party, and Lucy is a couple years older than Violet and Carrie. So having the upperclassmen like invite you and go to the party with you makes them cooler, right? I'm not entirely sure which decade this is. I feel like it's 60s, 70s-ish, because people are still listening to music coming out on record. So I'm gonna research that and put what time frame it's actually supposed to be in, because things that are like technology advanced and normal now were very like sci-fi back then, like cell phones. Wasn't really a thing. They go to the party. Violet kind of has a moment where she freaks out because she sees Tony, who is the boy that she likes, and Carrie is not helping. The cringe. So when Violet runs away, her powers start glitching. And she's like running away with her head invisible, so she's like this body running. Her mom finds her because her mom may or may not have followed her, not trusting the whole like, oh, we're going to see a later movie phone call. So we get the spiel. Supers are illegal. We can't be revealing our powers. We keep moving because your dad's revealing his powers. And it's not like Violet was trying to show off her powers. She's actually not a fan of them. She wishes she was normal because, one, she can't control her powers. And her parents have not been teaching her how to control powers because the whole supers being illegal thing. Violet gets grounded. Part of being grounded is that she has to watch her brothers because her mom is suddenly going after her father, who's been away at a conference. We can tell something is up. Like, obviously, if we see the movie, we know it's up. But we can tell in the book as well. Like, it's not like the mom is going to the conference. Like, she's going after dad for a reason. He's in trouble. So Violet takes over, sort of having her brother Dash do, like, the chores and help her take care of Jack. And then mom doesn't come home that night. Mom still doesn't come home the next day. And I should also put a little pin in here that I'm saying mom because I'm in America, but this book was only released in Australia and I think the UK. The English in here, there are phrases that are very UK or Australian based. And by that, I mean, like mom is mum. It's M-U-M, not M-O-M. Tires is spelled with a Y. I didn't know that. I learned something. But there's little things in here that are those regions specific, not like American English. BT dubs, in case you read it, no, that's not a typo. So yeah, mom isn't back by the morning. So Violet does what she was told to do. She follows the schedule for Jack. She calls Uncle Lucius and he doesn't answer. Well, who knows where her mom is because she's also not answering the comm link that she found in the office. Suddenly there's a lady at the door who introduces herself as Mirage, saying that Syndrome sent her to save them. Essentially, they're in danger from Mastermind. And Mastermind is super villain, but super villain from the time of when her parents were active supers. So the kids know who Mastermind is. We know that's not good. But Mirage claims that Mastermind captured her parents, and her parents had sent her via Syndrome to get the kids to a safe place before Mastermind came after them. Violet is smart enough to know something is up, something's off. Like, why wouldn't her mom tell her who Mirage is and mention it? So Violet doesn't let Mirage in. She doesn't ask or take her help, rather. She shuts the door, goes back up to her brothers. Jack's still baby. He doesn't have any power showing at this point, but Dash is in Dad's office, and he's not supposed to be in Dad's office, and he's not supposed to play or touch any of the like old school gadgets that they have. That's like a freeze ray and a shrink ray. While they are up there and Violet's like trying to get Dash under control and to listen, there's more knocks at the door. Well, this time it's two guys in tuxedos, and Violet is like, oh, they have to be here at the wrong house. So she answers it, and they're like, you're Violet Parr, aren't you? And she's like, oh no, oopsie. They bust on in because they're here to capture the kids, and they're claiming to be sent by Mastermind. Between Violet and Dash freaking out and like trying to escape them, the house gets set on fire. So they do make an escape from Mastermind's goons. They end up out on the street, and Violet goes to like the grocery store where she can use a payphone to call Mirage. So Mirage picks them up, and we do at this point get Mirage's first real POV where we learn the behind the scenes quite literally, because like she's in acting classes and she took this job with Syndrome to like practice her acting a little bit, but she never agreed to be a babysitter. So even though she's dressed like a mature cool babysitter girl with like, she's even wearing a brown wig over her platinum hair. Blonde hair, I guess. She is not babysitter material. She does not want to be working with kids, but she takes them back to Syndrome's fancy house. Like, he's got a whole house, like a tree house. It's like a tree house, but it's super, super high tech. And he takes the kids there and says, hey, you're safe. And Violet is like, well, I need to talk to Syndrome and figure out what his plan is to save my parents. This turns into Syndrome essentially training Violet via the Omnidroids so that she can get a grasp on her powers, because they can't just rush in against Mastermind without her even being able to control her invisibility or her force fields. Like, you can't just rush in. Not with Mastermind. It doesn't take long. Like, I think it's a matter of days, if not like a week, where Violet is put in a very stressful situation, triggering her powers until she gets the hang of it. And a lot of the cues for creating her force fields and going in and out of invisibility are like this rage building up inside her, because according to Syndrome, Mastermind took her parents' powers and then killed them. Like, no joke. I literally thought they were dead. Even though, like, I'm like, maybe it wasn't Mastermind if we're really referencing the movie and, like, Syndrome's behind stuff. But I was like, man, did he actually go that far and kill them? Not to say, like, Violet's rage wasn't warranted, but she channels all of that, more or less masters her powers. And after that week's time, they're ready for the next phase of getting revenge against Mastermind. And that is Syndrome sending Violet in to the Mastermind mansion, because suddenly Mastermind is back in Metroville, which is the city where we're at, right? So this is the chance they got to get the nullifier, which is the gadget that Mastermind used to suck the superpower away. There's a couple things to this. One, obviously Violet wants revenge, so she's gonna do this. Two, because her and her brothers having superpowers is what's causing all this grief, is what puts them in danger. She plans to use the nullifier to get rid of her powers and her brother's powers so that they all are normal and like nobody can come after them. They go on the mission. And by they, I mean Violet goes off on the mission as planned while Syndrome is on a sudden emergency trip back to the island, the volcanic island where he's been like testing his Omnidroids. All we know is there was a breach. We can make assumptions, but we don't know what caused the breach. But Violet's on her way up to the Mastermind mansion. And of course, Dash is in the car. Super speed. He can just sneak in there. So Dash jumps into the mission with us. Violet realizes she does need his help, and it's better if she has him with her to keep him safe. So they go through the mansion, dealing with guards and dealing with like secret compartments to find this nullifier. It's a really cool scene where the nullifier is like locked at the bottom of this indoor pool. And when they're able to figure out how to get it out, alarms start going off. The whole entire room starts flooding. They're struggling to get out of the room, but as soon as they get out of the room and they're able to like get into the elevator to escape, they're knocked out. Because Mastermind knew they were there. She has cameras everywhere. She's like, I was just in this for the game. Like, I'm happy to have supers active. We're about to celebrate because we just caught footage of your dad in his super suit being a super. And obviously when the supers became illegal, by proxy, villains didn't necessarily become illegal. Like, they're already like not lawfully doing their thing. But without that super counterpart, it's kind of like the super villains are like, why bother? And because Mastermind likes having that chase. By the way, Mastermind is a very voluptuous lady, which I love. Like, her character sounds like I want to see her character in the movies. I think up until that point, we just assumed it was a man because it wasn't really specified. But Mastermind, she's sitting down in her office talking to Violet. And of course, Violet's pissed because this is Mastermind who nullified and killed her parents. But Mastermind's like, why would I do that? Like, I want your parents back and I want them to be super because I want to have this excitement and drama in my life. And that kind of makes Violet do a double take, but she still isn't sure who to trust. Mastermind allows her to take the nullifier and try to escape. because that's just more part of the game. Like, you can try to escape, see what happens. Violet and Dash do just barely manage to escape because Mirage comes in and zoom, supercar drives and saves them. But Violet's now like questioning things. Between things Syndrome have said and things Mastermind have said, certain things are making sense, and she wants her parents to be alive and fine. But then why would Syndrome do any of this, right? So before they can get back to Syndrome's place, because he wants that nullifier. He is like, be here in 20 minutes. And they're like, well, we got to go pick up Jack because Mirage, who was supposed to be watching Jack, like I said, she isn't a babysitter person. So she called Carrie via Violet's suggestion and had Carrie watch Jack. Unbeknownst to all of them, Jack has now got his powers. And if anybody has seen the Incredibles movie, you know that he is basically the jack of all trades, and he is turning invisible, but he's more like teleporting into different universes. I think so it's not like just normal invisibility like Violet. Bursting into flames, turning into a devil, shooting lasers out of his eyes. Like, the baby just wants cookies, and if he doesn't, he goes into like all this superpower mode. So Carrie's been freaking out. Her house is basically destroyed too. They get Jack. They head back to Syndrome's. And now that Jack is also a super baby, Violet's more worried that he'll want to take advantage of that because he's been taking advantage of her and like buddying with Dash when the whole plan was to get rid of their powers once this was done. So Violet confronts Syndrome and she tells him what happened with Mastermind, and he doesn't deny that her parents might still be alive. And she figures it out. She puts two and two together and realizes that he's the one that's been lying to her. But he quickly turns that around because he's got his little gadget glove that lets him immobilize her. And then he uses the nullifier on her. So she gets what she wanted. She loses her powers. And when she wakes up, her entire family is gone too. Now, wouldn't that have been an ending? Like, that would have been one of those like gut-wrenching or like heartbreaking endings where it's like she lost her powers and her family are dead and that's not where it ends, thankfully. We do get our Disney happy endings, don't worry. Even though this is a twisted tale, Violet wakes up and the guards that were supposed to be guarding her are already knocked out. So she's like, well, I need to get out of here and get help. Pretty much all the guards are knocked out for whatever reason. We don't know who helped her. We don't know. We know it was Mirage. Like, it's kind of obvious it was Mirage. But she gets to this autopilot car and is able to contact Lucy because Carrie had called her on Mirage's phone and Lucy was there and they're like, hey, we need to meet up. So they meet up at the pancake place. Everybody gets debriefed because if not, Carrie's just gonna go insane. So now everybody knows that Violet was a super, and now that she has no powers. So all of these superless people join up. They are thankfully smart enough to call the agency, which is like the FBI, CIA equivalent that manages the supers situation, on their way to Syndrome's other hideout, which is this little like abandoned place on a beach. Violet enters first because she's trying to find her family. Again, she's still powerless. She just has her dad's gadgets. But she's able to make it down into the hangar where she can see the nullifier in this giant machine. And off to the side, her entire family is imprisoned. So mom's alive, dad's alive, hallelujah. Obviously, Dash and Jack are there as well. I guess they weren't in the same enclosure as Frozone, but he was there as well because he had just recently gone missing, which was why Lucy was like, I gotta help too because I don't know where Uncle Lou is. Speaking of, I'm okay with him being nicknamed Uncle Lou because it makes sense that like a niece would give her uncle a nickname like that. However, it did take us 2/3 of the book before we got a 3-letter nickname that maybe was unnecessary. But it did take 2/3. So I do applaud Jen on that because if y'all have seen my Go the Distance review, it grinds my gears when they all just get nicknames and it doesn't quite feel right. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, Mirage and Syndrome were semi-dating. Like, she was working for him, but, like, sort of semi-dating, which, like, ew. And she called him Sin instead of Syndrome, because I guess we're not using his real name. It got a pass because it took 2/3, and it only popped up a couple times, and it's whatever. So, yeah, Violet's down there in the hangar with no powers, and very quickly, she's taken captive by Mirage, who... I forgot to note that when she was immobilized by Syndrome, because Mirage was asking too many questions, he also immobilized her and threw her out the doors. Thankfully, she landed in the pool, but it became her own little, like, I'm gonna take revenge on Syndrome. This is all like in her POV, so he doesn't know that she's about to double cross him, because how else is Violet gonna get out of this, right? So Mirage acts all seductive and convincing Syndrome that she's on his side. They're gonna take over and create machines. Like, forget acting. I'm gonna make all these machines with you to stop supers, just so she can get close to him and then knock him out. Or at least knock him down while Violet is set free, and Mirage sticks a syringe into Violet's neck. Courtesy of Mastermind, by the way, thank you. Which gives Violet her powers back. Thank the Lord, because that would have been really sad if she had lost her powers. And then Violet uses her powers to free her family. They all go after Syndrome and like shoot him off into the ocean just as the agency is pulling up so that they're able to get everything under control. They wipe Carrie's mind because the girl talked too much. She doesn't need to know. Everything is getting back to normal. Like, the Parr household was burnt down or took enough fire damage that they're living in like a motel. Mirage stops working for Syndrome, obviously, but she, as part of her deal, took the nullifier back to Mastermind and is like, hey, we're on the same page and you're not like that crazy. You want to be partners. So Mirage starts working for Mastermind, and it's this kind of like cute little scene where they're spying on the Parr family, because like supers and villains aren't back yet. But Mastermind has like been there with the Parr fam, like especially with Elastigirl, Helen, since they were young. So like she's known about the kids. So she's just like watching like a spy grandma, almost just like watching them in their life. Violet's got her new sense of confidence. She wears her headband. It came a nice full circle with like, you know, maybe school isn't going to be so bad and she's going to go to a party and it's okay. She can talk to people and maybe she'll talk to Tony. And it was a nice full circle moment. Nobody died. Questionable on Syndrome. He might have died. But the vibes, it was very much Pixar vibes. This was the book. Jen, I don't think you ever will watch my videos. Please don't watch the other ones because I might have been harsh. But this was the book Jen Calonita needed to write for Twisted Tales because it is so well done. I don't know if it's because it's semi-modern age or if she just really related to Violet and really got into her character. This, I think, honestly, is her best. It is my favorite amongst all the Twisted Tales that she has written. This is my favorite Jen Calonita book. I enjoyed this so much. I honestly thought I knew who the top 3 to 5 are gonna be. And now I'm not so sure. Like, I liked this one way more than I thought I would, and I'm so glad that I did order it. I believed that this is how Violet felt, and this was what the actions she would have taken, where there were some impulsive moments, but again, they made sense. They weren't that level of impulsive, not thinking, where I was like, I thought you were smarter than this character. Why did you do this to me? I have so many nice things to say about this book. And it's kind of been a theme that the earlier books were a bit darker and they've gotten less and less dark twisty. Like, they've just been a little bit more enjoyable. Like, there's still, I thought her parents were dead. There are still moments like that, but it's not like super dark. So this was definitely a lot of fun and just like a really good read. Very good read. Even if you don't read the Twisted Tales, if you have any inkling into reading Incredibles related stuff, I highly recommend Suddenly Super. Highly. I'm not just living off the fumes of finishing it yesterday. I really liked it. And that means we have one more Twisted Tale to read before this year's final ranking video, which is Princess of Thieves. And this one is also by Mari Mancusi. This one is also not released in the US, but I ordered them both and I'm gonna start reading this one next. So hopefully the ranking video comes out on December 1st. And I just heard, I, the biggest Lion King fan that I know, just heard that the next Twisted Tale is not Moana anymore. It's actually Be Prepared, a Lion King Twisted Tale. And this one is written by Farah Roshan. I did find it interesting that Farah Roshan also wrote the short story Twisted Tale for Lion King in the anthology. It's a different setup, so it's not like they liked that story and they ran with it. I have not looked much into it. Obviously, Nala is the focus because we're always going to have, with the exception of Set in Stone, like they've literally all been female leads. And even Set in Stone, they added in Guinevere, and she a little bit overshadowed Arthur, if you need to see that video. But yeah, we won't be able to get that one in time to do a ranking this year because it's not releasing in the US. It's releasing on December 1st at this point, I think, which means it wouldn't get here probably until the end of the year. So we're going to read Princess of Thieves next, review that, and then I have to actually sort out my feelings. It's getting too close, guys. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. But you were a happy surprise. We really, really did enjoy that. So let me know if you guys have gotten your hands on Suddenly Super and what you thought about it, because if you haven't, yes, it is worth it. I found it on fishpond.com, which I guess is like a used or some sort of bookseller through Australia. Check out fishpond.com and see if they have any more of these. But feel free to start speculating on what my top ones will be, because I need to really sit down with myself and figure it out. More details to come on that. I feel like a portion of it is going to be pre-filmed, and I might do a portion of it live as well. So I'll let you guys know about that soon. Otherwise, hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. I super appreciate you guys. And for those of you who've like subscribed to me for these, or at least like maybe you stumbled on these and you liked it, I really, really appreciate that. I'm just shy of 300 subscribers, which for me is a big thing. Keep doing what you guys do. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.